what they were doing, it was possible for me first to break that barrier of being a woman, being accepted in that kind of setting. And after that kind of acceptance, it gave me an opportunity to utilize the potential of religion, actually to enable the people become agents of their own peace. How did we do this? Religion is connected with people up to the grassroots level, and the religion is very powerful, despite the two sides of it. And it was through mobilizing people. I was dealing with two ethnic groups which have been fighting for very many years. And through mobilizing religious leaders, actually we are men, we managed to bring the two communities together. These are the leaders and Boranas in northern Kenya. And who came together? Majority were women. We had the Muslim women, the Christian women, and we did not have much of the women, the traditional religion. And it's a kind of a paradox, because the women were the majority, and the women contributed to the changes which we experienced in that region. The relationship between the two communities were spearheaded by women, because they were the majority there. So, and I think what we can do to enhance or to empower women through religion, women are affected by the stereotypes put in culture and religion, and they are also affected so much by the war. And changing this kind of a transition is first creating the more awareness at the grassroots. And the awareness is awareness of people to know what they are living in is not a normal situation. It's not the reality what they are supposed to live in. And people recognizing that they are able, conscientizing the people to recognize they are able to overcome these barriers, and they are able to work for their own peace despite being a woman or despite being a man. And through using this approach, we managed to bring a lot of change at the grassroots with women and with men. And then the men, using a non-violence approach, we managed even to break so many barriers, because sometimes when you are violent, when you are demanding your rights, sometimes you become so violent. And what do we get from the other side? Violent resistance. But I've seen non-violent working so well. And non-violent, borrowing from Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela, you love the oppressor. You hate the actions. But the oppressor, you want to liberate yourself and the oppressor, not only yourself. And I'm not calling men oppressors. I'm just borrowing from what you have heard about Paulo Freire, the oppressor and the oppressed. He talks about that. But oppression is any kind of injustice, anything which is denying people to live their full humanity. That's what we call oppression. So I think that is what I borrowed a lot. We embrace non-violence, and we train people to plant seeds of non-violence as we create this awareness, because violence will not take us anywhere as we try to enhance gender sensitivity in religion. I'm still waiting to see my one, but
honorable mention. She did not receive a yellow card. Very good. Thank you. I'm not sure about that one over there. Father Innocent. Father Magania, what do you see as a necessity for sustainable and sensitive approaches to gender-related issues in an interreligious and in a religious organizational setting?
I'll speak from where I stand in a Catholic institution, which is largely patriarchal and with a heavily lean dogmatic, teaching which is disconnected with reality and practice. My training is more on theology, which is practical. My formation is in missiology, and basically missiology embraces quite a lot of realities and so on. And here I am in an Institute of Inter-Religious Dialogue and Islamic Studies. At the intersection between orthodoxy, which is right teaching, and it's important to insist on the right teaching as it is transmitted to us from biblical traditions or religious traditions, and also sacred texts, but also from the teaching of the magisterium of the church, or within other traditions, Sunnah and so on. Because religious literacy is key, because our interpretation of texts continue to perpetuate discrimination in the society, wrong interpretation of the text. So the religious literacy is very key in this context. And we will see that in most of our religious traditions, women have played a big role, even though their voices are marginalized. So that is one element. So within the Institute of Intellectual Dialogue, we insist very much on religious literacy. What does my biblical or sacred teaching say about some of these issues, including gender? Ours is to create not only awareness. You might be aware, but you may not be ready to change. So ours is a pedagogy which leads to transformation of attitude on how we relate each other. And from a biblical perspective, it's about the dignity, equal dignity of all human beings, all. And I like very much to insist on all, which is also about inclusivity. We are all children of God, created by God. So there is no way we can discriminate one part of humanity. We need each other if we need to progress together. And there are certain areas where we need to bring both gender to the table in a partnership and collaboration, yeah? And in complementarity when it comes to issues like peace building, social cohesion, and so on. So this is what we try to foster within this institution, and we deliberately anchored ourselves in the School of Theology so that we can reach out to social sciences. Yeah? As much as social sciences need a theological foundation, but theology also needs social sciences in some. So interdisciplinarity and intercomplementarity. Yeah? As a matter of fact, we are collaborating with the School of Arts and Social Sciences to see how we can develop together gender studies within this institution.
Thank you very much. I think this connects again to Dr. Cho. We heard about interdisciplinarity as an important aspect, but what disciplines in research and teaching have to be considered in a sensitive approach towards gender issues in a religious and interreligious context?
That question really bothered me. I try to think which discipline should not be in this circle. Because I'm interested that all disciplines we bring in into the conversation, in the research. My sense is that, for example, when we are doing research with communities, the women bring a certain intelligence different from the intelligence that comes from men. So, because all our sciences, like Father Innocent has just said, we bring the social sciences to help theology do theology better, or theologians do theology even better, to the benefit of the community, because together we are looking for the well-being of the full well-being of the members of the community of science. So we need all the disciplines around the table for research, for outreach, and even for teaching, so that we can understand also the multiplicities of people's intelligence, the various gifts that are there in the community, and the way people experience God, wholeness, relationships, development. So I was looking at that question as it was sent to me before, and I could see that all the sciences come into play. Especially the social sciences, humanities must really work together, so that we can bring the benefits of evidence-based. In the social sciences, we work with evidence, we want to do scientific research for social realities. In humanities, we are proceeding from a different perspective, but if together we can bring the benefits of the different sciences, I think it is very important to do that. Now, when we are working with ministry, especially in most religions are going to minister to people. People are in so many different settings. If you have to deal with people, it has to be all the areas in which people are working. And in terms of approaches, having gender separate and gender integrated research, I think is important. Gender separate so that we can get to the depth that we need, but then gender integrated so that we can be mutually enriching and enhancing. So it's a question of methodology there. But according to my consideration, I think we don't have the STEM sciences here except when preparing teachers. But even then, the teachers are going to interact with people, with parents, with children. And again, we need to be able to help them to be sensitive to gender stereotypes, to help ourselves to be sensitive to the way in which people come at knowledge. Education, for example, is such a broad area, a growing area. And therefore, according to me, all the disciplines need to be around the table. We respect and learn to listen to the wisdom and knowledge and the methodologies of each other to see how the common good is fostered.
Thank you very much. I'm going on to my left now, from the university side to the practitioner side again. Ms. Gulam, what specific gender-related issues in society do you see look promising to be improved through an interreligious and a religious approach? We have been talking a lot about the problems. Give us some hope. Give us something where we can actually sink our teeth in, where we can see progress.
Thank you so much for that. First, I'll go straight to the Constitution of Kenya. We have a very progressive constitution. Many countries refer to our constitution as very progressive, and it has a clear chapter on issues of gender equality. So, if we are to implement the constitution, then I believe that we can include issues of interreligious approach into that. Secondly, last year, the former president committed to 12 gender equality fora, where he committed that are aimed at reducing gender inequality, and I want to read those two. I'll not read all the 12, but I'll read the two commitments that can actually enhance issues of interreligious, that are promising to issues of interreligious. One is on strengthening collaboration with non-state actors. I believe religious actors fall under the non-state actors through coordination of structures, strengthening collaboration with non-state actors, including girl-led, women rights organizations, male champions, private sectors, through coordination of structures such as the gender working groups at the national and county level. Secondly, the president committed to adopting and institutionalizing the multi-sectoral gender equality forum leadership structures comprising the National Advisory Committee, the National Steering Committee, the county leadership structures to guide the implementation of the Kenyan Generational Equality Forum commitments in the GBV Action Coalition of up to 2026. I think we need to find our space there. Moreover, we have seen that in the just recently concluded election, we have, for example, I'll talk about costs. We have, for the first time, the first female governor in Kwale. Still at the coast, in Lamu, we have first female member of parliament in a highly dominated male society that are also Muslim. And then also in Likoni, we have a female member of parliament. And these are not women rights. They have competed with other men. And the fact that they are Muslim, we always have perceptions that women, first, she's a woman, so there are those perceptions that a woman cannot lead. How come the other men who can do this better? And then the other stereotype that she's a Muslim wearing a hijab. So that even makes the situation worse. But I see that promising because it shows that we are able to make it as women. More, we are seeing so many girls in education and also taking leadership position at the coast. And if you look at the Kenya National Examination where they publish results, if you look at the coast, you'll see so many girls topping up. At the national level, you'll see a few from coast, but if you look at the coast level, so that's really promising because for us we see that the right to education is actually being enhanced for the girls. And then issues of women being involved in peace building initiative, conflict prevention and mitigation. This is even embedded in the UN National Resolution Council 2242, which talks about involving gender into issues of peace building. We cannot talk about peace building without involving women because everyone is affected differently, but women are more affected because of the fact that they are caregivers. When a family is destabilized, then it is the woman who stays behind with the kids and all that. We are also, sorry, 1 minute, okay. We are also seeing that spaces as women, we are not waiting anymore to be given spaces to sit. We are demanding for those spaces at the table where decisions are made. I always tell my colleagues and in the community when we have forums, we need to demand these spaces because if we are not in the table where decisions are made, we become the menu. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Father Magana. Next question. Back to the interreligious sphere explicitly, and especially your specialization on ecumenism. How can intra-religious discussions within our respective religious communities and work structures lead to an improvement of gender sensitivity in our work?
Of course, we've been talking much about inter-religious dialogue, where it is somehow easy, I'm saying somehow easy, to dialogue. But when it comes to intra-religious dialogue within our own religious tradition, we still have a long way to go. So it's a monologue, it's not a dialogue, huh? Okay, Obikunemi is speaking by standing. So, what can I say now to you guys more? Okay, good. So the first thing I was going to say is sometimes easier, the inter-religious dialogue than the intra-religious religious dialogue. Okay, that is at the structural level. But at the practical level, actually, real ecumenism, in the Catholic sense, ecumenism is a reality, yeah? Especially when women come together to solve together the problem of the community. It's a reality. Sometimes maybe it's those in the structures who have not been able to listen to the context, to the reality. Yeah. So we come and we speak from above without taking into consideration the reality on the ground. And I think the future is there. So to learn from the grassroots, I'm the chair of the International Ecumenical Movement in Kenya, and can see how ecumenism works really at the grassroots. So if we can learn from them. The other thing is that the diversity within religious traditions, we can learn from each other. What can the Catholic Church learn from the Protestant churches, for instance? Or what can the Protestant churches learn from the Catholic Church? Rich traditions where we can enhance and then learn from each other. I would say maybe with not much knowledge within different traditions within the Islamic community or said, it's much easier sometimes to inter-religious dialogue than because of some internal issues and then because also of the past. But we are also trying to bring the inter-religious discourse within the ecumenical discourse.
Thank you for that answer. Thank you, Imam, for the energizer. I appreciate that you are taking care of our audience. That's very good. Because we sometimes don't realize that. And that is probably a problem that many of us have in our work as well. We see up to here, I see those four. I will not pay attention always what is going on over there. And there is an analogy and a learning in this for all of us. Dr. Kennedy, still not doctor, still working on it, I'm sorry. Religions have a special power. They do have a special power when it comes to reconciliation of conflict parties. We see that history, we see that still up to date. What needs to be considered to make such reconciliation processes religiously led reconciliation processes, gender sensitive and therefore more sustainable?
Thank you so much. Your question is very difficult. I'm going to try and see. I agree with you that religion has a lot of power for reconciliation. I would also add that religion gives us hope for the violent conflicts we are experiencing in our society today. Religion can be a very powerful tool to make people living in war situations living their full dignity and humanity as human beings. And how can we make this process gender sensitive? For sure, in war situations we find that women suffer most. And I know many of you will agree with me, women are also perpetrators of the violence in many contexts. However, they suffer most in the war they fight. And how can we make these processes gender sensitive? I think it needs to begin from planting the seeds. When you go to these processes for peace, you find that it is a male-dominant situation. I remember there was one time I was deep in the grassroots. There was a peace meeting, and we had a big room like this. It was full of men. I was the only woman there, and seated squeezed on a corner somewhere. And you find we have so many people suffering out of the war, but women are not included to give their perspective. I have an experience of women who have stopped war, who have stopped men from going to raid or to attack the other community, because attacking the other community invites counterattack and more deaths and more suffering for women. And what we need to do first is planting the seeds. Like what Oscar Romero says, the bishop, we plant seeds that will grow. We want seeds that have a promise. At least we know there is something which will happen. And I will imagine the first, creating that awareness, for me it's beyond awareness, is what Father Innocent has said. Is that conscientization for each person to know I have the potential. And I don't leave this responsibility to only men and to only women. And also for men to know we need to collaborate, children, youth, men and women, in these processes of reconciliation, clergy and everybody. There is that need of recognition. Because what is there is what I said has been normalized. Leaving women out is no more part of life. There's nothing wrong with that. The men will do the work for them, but it is not time for that. But I think there is hope, as my sister said. and from what we learn from the coastal resort, I can see there are some seeds. And the thing is for each one of us to question from where we are standing. Being here and being participant of this conference, a process has already begun. Or we are still going on with we are watering the seeds, probably we are not planting. When we go back in our communities, it's about planting seeds which recognizes the potentials of every individual. Seeds which embraces collaboration of every human person. And what Father Hussein said, seeds which, everybody, we stress the word all has the potential to collaborate in this. And doing this we will enhance, knowing that peace is for everybody. Violence affects everybody. So when we talk about reconciliation and peace processes, it's a process for everybody. And if we have that deep awareness and deep conviction that we can do something, I think the seeds will grow. And doing also what Oscar Romero says, we like foundation. Maybe this generation might not see this happening in the society. It might see something small, but the foundation you leave, the coming generation will continue building on it. Let us not leave our foundation. Let us not leave our generation without any foundation. Where will the coming generation lay their stones to? If we leave a stone laid by this area where we are parallel to one aspect of life, maybe the women or the men, then that will be continued by the coming generation. So the foundation which we lay will do what? Will continue giving hope and opportunity for the coming generation to do something. And also to conclude with the words of our Romel as well, we provide yeast, which is able to produce more than our capabilities. So let us, whatever we do it in such a way that other generations which come will multiply and it keeps on growing and making our society a better place. Asante.
Thank you very much. I'm also receiving a yellow card because we are a little bit on the wrong side of this panel as well. So I will give us one last question for your short answers, and then we move on in the program. I would like you, all four of you, from your respective perspectives, from your respective fields, how do you build larger networks of allies for gender equity beyond your own bubble, beyond your own field? How do you step out of this to connect efforts? Father Innocent?
Allow me to answer by repeating the question. What we have begun, we might feel lonely because maybe we are not at the same level as the other members of our society, because we are privileged to have participated in such kind of dialogue and experience. The future is networking. Don't walk alone. Don't walk alone, because you are going to hit the wall. Okay? So let this experience become also experience of networking, where we can support each other. That's my answer to your question.
Okay, I come from psychology and spirituality in my area of work, and I have never seen anything so powerful as narrative. When people tell their story, you cannot discuss, you cannot argue that you didn't have that experience, and it somehow softens our hearts. I want to approach the gender, I want to encourage that we approach the gender conversation, as Farina said, was saying more inductively, from the ground up, from the experiences of people. I remember attending a meeting of a commission, we were talking about how to help ourselves with cross-denominational marriages. And there was somebody sitting there who was herself married to someone from a different church. And somehow we were not giving her voice. We were kind of talking from the top. I think we need to hear stories. And just about everyone comes from a family where there are both gender and we have people for that life. So they speak to allow to encourage others and ourselves to go from an investigation dimension. Because when we are being patriarchal, I guess all of us are just saying, I am using this in a kind of cliche. But when we are being patriarchal, excluding one gender, we are all saying all women are less effective, except my mother. I don't know. All mothers are the best, I don't know. Yeah? So I just want to say encourage narrative, experiential dimension. The second thing I want to say is, in terms of organizations that we want to network with and all that, we need to take an interest in what they do. What is their definition of success? What are their motivations? So that we can help ourselves enlarge the conversation that unless both genders are on board, nobody succeeds anything. Nobody succeeds anything in every human endeavor. Nobody succeeds unless both genders are on board. So if we have that framework in mind, then I take an interest in what you are doing as a contractor or a housing or a company that is housing. What are you doing about gender? How is the gender conversation coming into making better what you are doing? And I think we can habituate that way of thinking and encourage other people to be more successful by being more gender literate. I know you've been talking about religious literacy, but I think we all need gender literacy. And it's not, I don't think women have it necessarily more than men, because women tend to be a little bit isolated or alienated or discriminated against in the social circles and what have you. But patriarchy has been around for so long, it's almost all societies, for so long, that we have to relearn how to appreciate women or feminine intelligence. And I don't mean intelligence in terms of mind, I mean intelligence in terms of all our faculties. We have all to be learned. Most of us women, when you enter in leadership positions, you have to act like a man just to be recognized, right? So we have to learn again how to be a great woman leader and how to, to support one another in such a way that we recognize those things. And we don't know as women, we don't know as men, what we have lost by not having feminine intelligence as much on board as masculine intelligence. So we all need it because we are all lost. And I just want to appeal to all of us to take the courage to learn it slowly because we all need to learn it. I hope that also our institutions are encouraged to have gender policies, like the university to have a gender policy, but it doesn't remain in the book. Here in Sagana we have a group that has called itself Gender Sensitivity Initiative or something like that. In any case, they are trying to help us to think about gender sensitivity in everything that we do. And I'm hoping that one of the things they help us do is not just have a policy, but also have indicators of how we are living and how we evaluate it, so that we get everyone on board and we all can grow into this country. I hope that addresses the question.
Thank you for that question. I'll go straight to how do we build allies? For me, I'll say first we need to do either power analysis or stakeholder mapping to know who is our ally, we need to know the different power structures which are listed, those that are visible, those that are invisible, so that we can be able to look for strategies. For example, if I know someone is very patriarchal and I want to engage that person into conversation, then I know what kind of strategies that to use. But that can happen once I have done a stakeholder or power analysis. Secondly, I'll say engaging the media. The media are very powerful. And here we can use all media, social media, mainstream media, because they create content for us to listen and to engage. Therefore, I'll put like creating gender sensitive and gender transformative content and breaking down the stereotypes. Because I know media can also be used negative, but let's be the one to change the stereotypes and get the content that we want in the media. And then I'll say also engaging religious and traditional actors into this work on gender equality, because for example, the issue of female genital mutilation, some people believe it's a religious aspect, but engaging them and then engaging the communities that they will know that this is not a religious act. Similarly to traditional actors, engaging them to know that having a woman to stand in front of you and discussing the issue of gender equality does not respect the men who are standing at the back. Similarly, engaging religious actors in terms of, for example, in Islam, a girl can be married as long as she reaches puberty. And here when I talk about puberty, once she has gotten her period, she's able to conceive, she can get married. But is she ready to handle a family? We need to ask, and also we need to engage these religious leaders and tell them, in Kenya it is wrong. Once you are caught marrying as a religious leader, marrying of a girl who is under the age of 18 years, you're going to go to jail. So engaging them to know what is right in the Kenyan context, what is wrong. And lastly, advocacy to the implementation of the existing laws and policies. Kenya, we have a lot of laws and policies, but implementation is the biggest challenge. Thank you so much.
I think I'm going to respond this in two ways. And the first one is to cut this chain where some groups or women or other groups are being considered to be inferior than others. I think we need to begin by socializing children when they are young about this issue, or educating them at their young age. And that they will grow with a different mindset. So we can utilize the structures in our communities, in our societies, the schools. We have a commission. Even religion, if it comes to the church, if it comes to the Islamic religion, there is a way in which young people are formed. And if this issue of gender is integrated, sensitivity is integrated, so that children can grow knowing this, then I think we'll have a better future. And we'll have already started planting these seeds of hope in our society, where both men and women are perceived as human beings despite their background and despite wherever they come from. And the second thing I would probably say is we embrace non-violence mechanism wherever we are. As we learned from Mother Teresa, I think many of you will know Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa worked so much for people who are being neglected by the society. Why did she do this work? She was so much annoyed with what she saw. Our women, our children were being neglected in the streets and all that. She transformed her anger into something good. Many times we are so annoyed when we see women being left out. Many times we get angry when we see maybe a certain group being left out. How can we do with our anger? Can we do it start something transformative with that energy which is within us? And by doing that, we will change our society. And I conclude with a story. One time when I was in northern Kenya in Mozambique, I invited the Morans for a meeting. As many of you know, Morans are the key perpetrators, are the key people who trigger the violence through raping or counterattacks. And I went to the bush with some Morans who knew me. And we called Morans from all over they came. One Moran stood up and said, the purpose of me coming to this meeting was to see what kind of a woman is calling a Moran. Morans do not interact with women. And they cannot eat with women Morans. The way they are socialized from young. So this Moran came and said, I came only to see what kind of a woman is this, calling Moran for a meeting. And then he sat somewhere quietly, listening. And then later on he stood and said, I was so happy after the meeting, because I realized the woman who called us spoke like a man. So, he did not say that he spoke something sensible, but like a man to console his own home. Because he has known, it was difficult for him coming out of this way of socialization that women can also speak and make sense in their lives. So, when we start socializing, they will appreciate, they will learn to appreciate at that young age. And as they grow, they will know each person is a human being and each person has potential, and both will collaborate together. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to all of you in this panel. You've heard a lot. You've heard about numbers that matter, not tokens. You've heard about religious leaders that have political and social power. You've heard about non-violence as a common remedy. You've heard about coalition building, networking, narratives, mapping of who we can work with. And with that last bit, I would like to invite you to come up to us. We will have a cake later on. We will have a cup of tea later on. Talk to us. Talk to the speakers. Talk to the other speakers that are still around. We are all approachable, and we are happy for your questions, for your dialogue with us. So please feel free. Don't be shy. Before we come to the closing remarks, I would like to invite now Jake Okache from the School of Education and the Tangaza University College Justice and Peace Commission for his reflection of today. After that, we will come to Father Innocent and for the closing ceremony and the launch of our agenda. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all your attention. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Today I will not speak as on demand. So because of time, I will just be very brief on the topic we have spoken today. So we are looking at breaking the barrier for gender sensitivity towards religion. Now, one of the most common type of social inequalities is gender inequality. That is what we are suffering generally. And since we are suffering that in our society, we are looking at the cultural aspect, and which has actually brought about influence. And based on the speakers, we have looked at the culture. We also looked at how religion also influenced. Then the way of religious faith, how it interprets, and how religious communities and cultural, institutional structure have also impacted on the same issue we are discussing. Now, there's a position in which man can claim that he is the founder of religion, right? Which they also say that the women are the mother or the son of the father. So the conclusion is what I want us to reflect and take home. That is the idea which I derive this
a reflection from the feminism which came as a result of inequality in the society, that is society's unfair to gender roles and stereotypes, which also impact the world is not good, backlash. Example you can get is that based on what we have been discussing all through, you can get in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21, which says, "Be subjected to one another out of reverence for Christ. There is neither Jew nor Greek, male nor female, black or white, for you are all one in Christ Jesus." Also Genesis chapter 1 verse 27 also states, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them alike." Also try to go through the Quran, where Allah the Almighty decreed that all human beings, whether male or female, are descended from the Adam and Eve. That is Surah An-Nisa 4:1. What can I do? What can you do? The feminists are proud, not just of their identity, but the term itself. For some, feminism still carries negative connotations anyway, but we are looking for how we outdate these issues. However, we look at sexual assault, domestic violence, sexism in workplaces, unpaid care workers, and laws limiting control over their bodies are still much more likely to effect. So I'm encouraging all of us this evening that there is no justice without gender justice. Social and economic progress are linked and require full participation. Think about your area of work. It's what I want you to get this event. Consider women, especially black and women of color, as part of all the process. For example, storytelling. Even you discuss like this, if we are gathered here for this conference, is also another way to talk about the issue of feminism. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Good afternoon once again. Good afternoon once again. So we have reached now the last section of the day to conclude a whole process. Yeah? A whole process. Yeah. Which started even before yesterday's training and today's conference, and concludes with a tool that we can use to breaking the barriers, training manual on gender and inter-religious dialogue. The first of its kind in Tangaza University College, where we have tried to bring the gender discourse together with the inter-religious discourse, gender and IRD. But before I proceed, I would like to recognize the leadership of Susan. Susan, please stand up. You'll be in the background. But she is the brain behind, was coordinated the whole team of IRDIS in producing this manual. Thank you very much, Susan, for for your tireless work. Yeah? Okay. Thank you very much. So, what is this about? It's not an academic book where we are going to get information. Okay? We are going to get information. And we purposely said it's a training manual. It's a training manual. That's why you find more exercises like what you did yesterday. Okay? So you'll be following what is in the background there. So it's really a training manual which we are putting at the disposal of everybody. Yeah. Not something to be put on your shelves, yeah, but as a working tool, as a working document. We have taken some quotations from the book. Research has shown that the message of peace were most effective when women and marginalized groups were part of IRB engagement. Okay. Yeah. There is a whole section in the UN Security Council 2025 with about women, security, and women and security and so on. Critically reflecting and overcoming fixed and restricting gender roles is not against men, but rather against patriarchal assumptions and systems that are elevating the status of men over women and minorities. Sometimes men are afraid. No, gender discourse is not against men. Okay, but we want to engage a conversation, yeah, between all genders. It's not against, so that men do not feel threatened. Because when they see a woman like Kanini, what has she to do with this? Okay, so it's not against women. Resistance to engage and integrate perspective in our lives overlooks that opening up the discourse to include the gender lens and dismantling system of oppression is beneficial and liberating for everyone. Liberating for everyone. Okay. When we engage gender and interreligious dialogue, we are all free from our stereotypes and resistance to change. It's really liberating. In general, the Catholic Church has the mandate to promote fundamental equality of all people and promote justice and peace. The social teaching of the Catholic Church, which is derived from the social encyclicals, can be seen as a solid foundation for discussion on gender and interreligious dialogue. Within the spectrum of Islam, just like in all others, there is space for constructive and inclusive gender approaches. This works for women's rights, gender equality, and even gender and sexual minorities' rights on the basis of Islamic studies. African traditional religion and so on. No, by the way, in 1997, there was a film or a movie which was produced, and the title is Kafir Fanga. The power, literally translated, of a Dengue. Yeah? Women were Dengue, no? It's a metaphor. Where when men sit around the baraza and they cannot agree, sometimes they adjourn the session. What do they do? They go to consult. Yeah? And whom do we consult? Sometimes they consult their mothers, they consult their wives. And when they come tomorrow, they have found a solution. The power of but this is from the African traditional wisdom. Good. So, what we are saying, this manual we want to launch today is a tool, and it's first of its kind. It can only be useful when we actually use it for training. And we request if there are challenges or insights which come from the use of this manual, please, we will be very happy and more than happy to get your remarks, and then we can improve and even produce a second volume. It's just the beginning, and the journey is still long. The journey is still long because attitudes, they die hard. And together. Don't think that because we are in this session today, that tomorrow we are going to transform the society. No way. Actually, the real work begins today. Begins now. And as I said, don't feel alone. Please network with all like-minded people, and especially with this, so that we can transform our society. So, with these few remarks, I'm happy to launch this manual, Breaking the Barriers Training Manual on Gender and Inter-Religious Dialogue. Thank you very much. So you can tell us what's next.
So before we celebrate that review with some cake, we would like to invite our Baha'i brother and the sister who touched our heart yesterday so lovely to give us the closing prayer, and then we would like to celebrate with you with some cake. Thank you very much. Please come to the front.
Good afternoon to you all. I am grateful to each one of you. We had a time to share. We had a time to invite each other to bring our best. And we had a time to go back to ourselves and to ask ourselves, how can I be transformed in order to be transformed? With this remark, I want to start my prayer in the way we start in our family and the way we start in our church, with the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. This is a sign of Christianity. This is a sign of unity in diversity. And as the Lord tells us, love one another as I have loved you. Then follows, love your neighbor as yourself. I think here, as we commit ourselves with the commitment of interreligious and gender dialogue, we are saying, ready to love our neighbor, because we are neighbors, we are brothers and sisters, and we are one. May the Lord, God our Father, the Creator, the loving Father, help us, renew us, and transform us, as to be able to transform many hearts and encourage our society to be one, no to the violence, no to difference, but oneness and unity. And the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thank you all, and may God bless you.
I will say a Baha'i prayer, and since it's a Baha'i tradition that at the end of the prayer we don't say Amen, we just take a quick moment to meditate. So don't be surprised when you don't get an Amen at the end of the prayer. And I would like to say that that's been quite a good opportunity for us to learn. And I believe now we are going to walk the thou art generous and merciful. We are servants of thy treasure, and are gathered beneath the sheltering shadow of thy divine wings. The sun of thy mercy is shining upon all, and the cloud of thy bounty shower upon all. Thy gifts encompass all, thy loving providence sustains all, thy protection overshadows all, and the glances of thy favor are cast upon all. O Lord, grant thy infinite bestowals, and let the light of thy guidance shine. Illumine the eyes, gladden the heart with abiding joy. Confer a new spirit upon all the people, and bestow upon them eternal life. Unlock the gates of true understanding, and let the light of faith shine with splendor. Gather all the people beneath the shadow of thy bounty, and cause them to unite in harmony, so that they may become as the rays of one sun, as the waves of one ocean, and as the fruit of one tree. May they drink from the same fountain. May they be refreshed from the same tree. May they receive illumination from the same source of life. Thou art the giver, the merciful, the omnipotent.
Edith, so maybe you can help me with cutting the cake, and also for the others, be prepared to get a slice of the cake. Don't be shy, or if you don't like it.
Cáp chấm gì?
Just use your
Tiền.